Netflix, one of the best video streaming platforms out there. We've all been in the same Netflix hypnosis. You start watching something and then before you know it you are 8 hours in and Netflix is asking if you're still there. But it's not been an easy ride for them. So we're going to give you a rundown of everything that they did to become the huge successful streaming platform that they are today. Netflix was founded in 1997 by Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings. When they first opened in 1997, this was their logo. Very 90s. Luckily, they've kept on top of things and they've adapted it over the years. From this, and now it's currently this, which we think it is tons better than what they started with. Netflix started out with DVD sales and rental through mail, but they quickly binned the sales and started focusing on the rental and introduced a monthly subscription fee in 1999. Then in 2007 they introduced the streaming service whilst still holding on to the rental of the DVDs. And due to the massive success of the streaming, in 2011 they put the DVDs on the back burner to focus on the streaming. In 2002, after several successful years, Netflix decided to go onto the public stock market. They sold 825,000 shares of common stock at $15 per share. This greatly helped with their revenue after incurring heavy losses early on. In 2003, Netflix posted that their profit was $6.5 million, with revenues of $272 million. But in 2000, Mark and Reed had the chance to make a lot of money quickly when Blockbuster came a-knocking and offered $50 million for the business. But this was an offer that they refused. They were thinking long term. Quite early on, the main competitor was the video chain store Blockbuster, and no matter how many times that the video stores tried to beat them, it didn't work and they kept getting battered back. The difference that ended up being the telling point for customers was that with Netflix you could order your DVD online and it would be posted out to you, whereas with Blockbuster you would have to physically go into the store to pick it up. And let's face it, we are all couch potatoes and we would rather have the easier, less fussy, more convenient option. But in 2007, when Netflix introduced the TV and film streaming service, that was really the end for Blockbuster. They just sat back and watched whilst Netflix built this blockbuster busting machine. Netflix, however, have been constantly expanding and looking into new content. And in 2012, they started producing their own content called Netflix Originals. OMMFG! Yeah. In terms of revenue, from 2005 to 2017, it has increased substantially. In 2005, their revenue was $682 million. And even with the financial crisis in 2008, they've seen their revenue increase from $1.2 billion to $1.3 billion. As of 2017, they have broken the $10 billion mark, with figures of around $11 billion. And $8 billion of that has been spent on the overall content on the platform in 2018, and 85% of that went into the production of the Netflix original content. But Netflix have struggled to break the debt barrier. One of the main reasonings behind this is because they've secured the rights for their content to be used on a global scale. Expansion is a viable outcome of taking on debt, as long as there's enough to cover the everyday ongoing costs. It's expensive securing the rights for TV shows. In 2018, Netflix forked out $100 million so they could secure the rights to the TV show Friends, a 14-year-old show, for 2019. Whoppa! They had to do this so they could fend off any other streaming services such as Hulu that were waiting to swoop in. In September 2017, their debt had risen to $21.9 billion. This is up on the previous year of $16.8 billion, thanks to their investment in the production of the Netflix originals and their diversifying content. $8.34 billion of this is long-term debt, which has risen since 2014 and continues to rise. The beginning of 2015 was when they've noticed that their long-term debt was noticeably increasing. In 2010, their long-term debt stood at $240 million. In 2014, it was increasing to $890 million. Then, 3 months later, it had skyrocketed to $2.4 billion, and it continued to grow. But their debt kept increasing and increasing, and 2014 turned out to be a very important year for Netflix. They introduced new global branding, a new logo, new website user interface, and were pushing out into more and more countries, which correlates with the steep increase of the debt in 2015. In September 2014, they had subscribers in over 40 countries and a customer base of 137 million. Which, compared to the previous year in 2013, their customer base was only 40 million. So if you think about it, taking out debt to expand and grow your company can be okay. Almost 100 million new users a year? It's crazy, right? But they were thinking for the long term. They would have calculated how much they would have needed to invest to get their money back. And if it wasn't going to work out, they would reduce the amount of countries they would be going out to, and they would reduce the amount of rights they would be buying. Though it was a lot of money to acquire the rights to broadcast them in several countries, the return will be enough so that their debt will begin to fall. As a small business, you need to think in the long term. Taking on debt might seem bad in the short term, but in the long term it could help your business massively. You need to judge carefully though and make sure you have planned everything down to the last T. Planning is so important in this. What made Netflix stand out was that they were looking at their long-term strategy early on, and they were always looking for ways to improve their customers' experience, unlike Blockbuster and the other video stores who were quite comfortable in their market. Netflix grabbed every opportunity that they had. They understood the market and they created new products which saved the customers time, and they moved early in a developing market. That made them the success that they are today. Thank you for watching. I've been Becca from Passport to Success. Stay up to date with all things Passport to Success, and we'll see you in the next video.